What is going on YouTube? Today I'm going to be giving y'all my UFC GOAT tier list, UFC specific, not MMA, so Fedor and all those guys would be left out. I just want to preface by saying I started watching UFC religiously in 2015. I went back and did my research, watched the who's who, the fucking Chuck Liddell's and fucking Tito Ortiz and then, even Crow Cop and all of that. I've done my research. I've seen these fights. I've seen these fighters fight. So I'm gonna try to give y'all as unbiased of an analysis for each of these positions as possible. I'm gonna just start by saying my criteria is how you stack up against your division and in your tenure at the top, or not even at the top, how you stack up against your division and the people in your division, your level of dominance, also your circumstances in your dominance. That'll also be explained for when I give certain put people in certain positions. And the circumstances part, Roy Cheats will not be considered the greatest of all time. John Jones will not be put at the GOAT spot. He just won't be. So if you don't like that, click off the video. And then after that, you got your win-loss ratio, your quality of wins, the number of wins you got, all of that, and impact also on the sport. But kicking it off, we got at number 15, none other than the King of Rio, Jose. Jose's got some great wins. He's got some good wins in his career. He's got Korean Zombie. He's got Uriah Faber. He's got Chad Mendes twice. Circumstantial for the first fight. Pedro Munoz. I don't know if I said that already. Jose Aldo's had a great career. I put him at number 15, and this is the top 15 fighters all the time. So this should be no shade to him. But when it comes to how he stacked up against the top fighters, he couldn't compare. And I know people like to use the excuse of he went through a shit ton of wars before he got to Conor. I don't want to hear that. Jose Aldo was 28 years old when he fought Conor McGregor, got slept in 13 seconds. He was 29 or 30 years old when he fought Max Holloway. Let's take a look. Jose Aldo was, where the fuck is it? If Aldo was 28 against Conor here, then he was 30 years old. He was 29 or 30 years old when he fought Max Holloway the first time. Got beat by Max Holloway. Got beat by Max Holloway again. Got beaten by Volkanovski decisively, even though he got wrestle-fucked. He lost an MMA fight to Volkanovski, another GOAT of the division, another top fighter of the division, and this wasn't even Volk's peak. And then he goes to bantamweight, has this run there, beats Rob Font and all those guys, but he loses to Marlon Moraes. He loses to Merab, even though people aren't too fond on Merab about that. He loses to Merab. Even this is as he's getting up there in age. Loses to Peter Yan, though. But the thing about Aldo is when people talk about him, people talk about Aldo like he was fighting, like he just retired a couple months ago. People talk about him like he was 45 years old when he retired. Jose Aldo was in these fights at a relatively young age, or at an age that other greats on this list were fighting in, and they weren't showing that much age, So I don't have too much else to say about Jose. Yeah, man, he's my number 14 spot, or he's at my number 15 spot. My number 14 spot goes to, where the fuck is he? Mr. Heavyweight GOAT. I think he's the heavyweight GOAT. Stipe Miocic. Stipe's beaten the likes of like Fabricio Verdum, Alistair Overeem, Junior Dos Santos. He beat Ngannou when Ngannou was on the come up, and he tamed the beast. He's got that record. He made Ngannou have that record of like lowest head strikes in the championship fight or whatever, I believe. There's not much to talk about Stipe here. He's got some losses. I don't count his loss to John Jones. I don't. He beat Daniel Cormier twice. He has a loss to Junior Dos Santos, though. But Stipe's beaten everyone at the top of his division, basically, outside of Cain. Outside of Cain Velasquez, Stipe's beaten everyone in his division at the top of his game. And, you know, he was the longest lasting heavyweight champion. Are we not counting John Jones again? His heavyweight tenure, we're just not counting it. Yeah, Stipe's got great wins. He was on top of the game for a while. He had his fall off, but his fall off wasn't too bad as other fighters. But, you know, it's heavyweight, so I got to take this with a grain of salt. So Stipe's at my number 14, though. Great career, though. We love Stipe over here. Number 13, the Nigerian Nightmare. We got Kamaru Usman. Usman always bothers me. His career, he was very dominant. That is why he's here. And that's why I have him, spoiler alert, I have him on this list and I don't have Izzy. Kamaru Usman's title reign is very watered down because of his competition to me. But the way he beat his opponents, and not even the way he beat his opponents. First of all, he has 4 title defenses, right? He beat Tyron Woodley for the belt. No, he has 5 title defenses. Sorry. Beat Tyron Woodley for the belt. Just mauled Tyron Woodley. Beat Colby Covington by TKO. Say what you want. He beat him by TKO. Then he beats George. Then he beats George again. No, then he beats Gilbert Burns. Then he beats George and George. Then he beats Colby Covington. This is where circumstances come into it. I thought he had a draw against Colby Covington in their second fight. That's just me, though. That doesn't really take too much away from Usman. I think this is a perfect spot for him because then he goes on to fight Leon Edwards. He loses to Leon Edwards twice. That sets him back. Then he has that draw against Hamzat. That's also a factor as to why he's number 13. The man had a draw with Hamzat. He arguably won. To me, he won against Hamzat. This is my opinion. I think they gave out the weakest 10-8 round in the history of the sport to Hamzat Chimaev. And I think Usman beat him clearly in rounds 2 and 3. I thought Usman won 29-28. Then he goes out, has his long layoff, whatever, comes back, beats the surging Joaquin Buckley. Even as he gets up there in age, Kamaru Usman's proved that he can still be at the top of the division. Even though he might not win his next fight, Kamaru Usman's, he's a legend. He's number 13. He's got 5 title defenses. He beat a game champ. He's got 5 title defenses. He's dominant. Pound for pound number 1. And he's good in his old age. Older age. Not old age. Older age. But moving on, though. Who am I going to pick? Moving on, though, to number 12, I got Ilia Topuria. I know what y'all saying. Y'all see some of the names at the bottom of this list, and y'all like, what the fuck? Why is Ilia so low? I think Ilia's got a lot more to prove before I get to put him in the top 10 tier category, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, Ilia's great. I think if he would have beaten more fighters, if he would have beaten better fighters on his come up, then I would be having a different talk about Ilia Topuria. Again, circumstances is a big one here. Ilia beat. We can go through. I don't even have to put up Ilia's resume. We all know who Ilia's beat. He beat Charles Oliveira. He's beaten everyone he's fought. But he's beat Charles Oliveira. He's beat Volkanovski, Max Holloway, Bryce Mitchell, Josh Emmett. His way to the featherweight title, it was Volk had ran through everyone, so he was the only contender left. Rightfully so, but just who he fought to get to the title was kind of, he fought Bryce Mitchell, and then he fought Josh Emmett, and then he got a title shot. And the circumstances of his Volk fight, I'm not trying to take away from Ilia Topuria. But the circumstances behind the Volk fight, I think if Volk is in better shape than what he was, he would have that fight would have been completely different. I still would have had Ilya winning, honestly. Ilya's only number 11 because the end of his career hasn't happened yet. Let me just say that. If he gets another title defense or two at lightweight, I'm putting him in my top 5. If he gets 2 or 3 more title defenses and then goes up and fights for the welterweight belt and wins it, he's the greatest of all time. Ilya's only here because his career's not done yet and he's still so young. I can't really diminish or say anything wrong. I mean, he's dominant. He's one of the most dominant fighters we've ever fucking seen. He's one of the hardest punchers we've ever seen. He is the hardest puncher we've ever seen. 170 below. I don't care who you have in mind. He's the hardest puncher. Yeah, I don't know how many times I gotta say it. Ilya Topuria is number 11, or no, he's number 12 because his career's not over yet. But moving on though, we got who am I picking? Nah, not yet. Nah. All right. Max Holloway. I know. I got Max Holloway on my number 11 spot. I have him below Ilya, or I have him above Ilya Topuria. Here's why, though. Max Holloway has done more in his career. Fuck. I can't do it. I gotta switch. I have to switch him. The more I think about it, I just have to. Max Holloway has 3 title defenses. He beat Aldo for the belt. He beat Aldo again, Frankie Edgar, and Brian Ortega. The thing that separates Max Holloway, wow, we just seen a live switch. The thing about Max Holloway is he was never the absolute best for an extended period of time. Case in point, he lost early in his career, had that big, 10, I think it was a 11 fight win streak maybe. I think I'm off. I know I'm off about that. But he had that big long fight win streak, fine. His title defenses, that is the top of his division, or it was, but it wasn't. Those aren't the best quality wins. Brian Ortega, Frankie Edgar's a good win, but Brian Ortega, I know at that time he was T-City, he was the next big thing. Brian Ortega was never that good. But my thing with Max Holloway is when it came down to it, he fought Volkanovski 3 times. Say what you want about the second fight, he lost the fight. He lost to Volkanovski. I know he moved up to fight Dustin Poirier, different circumstances when he moved up that second time. Max Holloway has too many losses in his career for me to and then he loses to Ilya. I have to put him in my number 12 spot. I got to put Ilya right outside the top 10. I had Max Holloway at number 11, but I can't justify putting him above Ilya when Ilya just knocked him out, and Ilya's undefeated, and Ilya's a 2-division champ, and Ilya's knocking out all these legends and on his way to becoming the greatest of all time. I can't do it. But moving on, though, I'm not going to fuck around with y'all. Top 10 time. Excuse me. Anderson Silva, the Spider. Call me a casual all you want. But I know Anderson Silva had a long time. You saw a highlight reel of Anderson Silva, and he was just amazing. Anderson Silva was dominant as champ, but was he? The people that Anderson Silva was fighting, the Forrest Griffins and the fucking Vitor Belfort, not even Vitor, but let's go to Anderson Silva's resume, because I know I could receive some hate for this. Wow, Anthony Silva. What the fuck am I thinking about? I don't rate some of these wins that Anderson Silva has. I just don't. Rich Franklin in his debut, I don't. Nate Marquardt, I can't. Rich Frank, I can't. Dan Henderson, I can't. Patrick Cuts, I can't. Forrest, I can't. Damian Maia, one of the worst fights ever, I can't. Losing to Actually, I don't even want to say that. He was losing to Chael, a roided up Chael Sonnen. But I just can't, man. These fighters that Anderson Silva was fighting, they didn't know how to throw punches correctly. They weren't the best of the best of the best in the world. And also, these losses count. I know he broke his leg. These losses count. All of these losses count. Every single loss that he's had at the end of his career, going on this losing streak, it counts. And that's the problem with Anderson Silva. He took too many losses on his way out instead of just hanging it up. And the caliber of fighters that he beat, he was just clearly better than. I have nothing else to say about Anderson Silva. I just won't argue about him being top 5. Yeah, man. I can't say anything else about Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva, great fighter, iconic, the Spider. But his competition, man, it just wasn't. It wasn't it. Moving on to the number 9 spot, we got George Champion. No, okay, I'm kidding. We got Merab Dvalishvili, however the fuck you want to say Merab's name. Merab Dvalishvili. The current bantamweight GOAT, or not current, the bantamweight GOAT. Merab lost to Ricky Simon. He hasn't looked back since. He beats everybody in an unprecedented way. I can't explain Merab's ability to push a pace, to just drown guys, swarm guys that are more skilled than him, more talented than him, more athletic than him, more everything. Merab beats them because he just makes them play his game, and no one on the planet can play his game. Merab has defended his belt now twice, going to be defending it a third time. On his way to the belt, though, Merab's gone through a gauntlet in his last 6 fights. Jose Aldo, Peter Yan, Henry Cejudo, Sean O'Malley, Umar Nurmagomedov, Sean O'Malley, now Corey Sandhagen. Damn, did I just do it off the dome? I just did that off the dome, I think. I just did that off the dome. Whoops, I forgot. Marlon Moraes. Prime Marlon Moraes, or close to prime Marlon Moraes. Yeah, man, just look at this resume. I can't say enough about Merab. Again, if Merab gets another win or 2 or 3 or 4, he's up there in the top 5 category. He's got a fight coming up against Corey Sandhagen, which he's gonna win. I don't think that moves him up on this list. I think if Merab gets like 5, 6, 7 title defenses, then he's top 5, top 3. But for right now, he's at the number 9 spot. The people that he's beaten, the level of dominance that he shows in these fights. Again, the only absolutely dominant fight that I've seen from Merab recently was the Umar fight. Otherwise, he dominated Jose Aldo. Say what you want, it's domination. However you want to call it, it's domination. He dominated Peter Yan 50-45. Now, he really dominated Henry Cejudo. He got wobbled, then just bullied Cejudo. He beat Sean O'Malley. He beat Umar. Then he fucking just mauled Sean O'Malley the second time. I think he's going to maul Corey Sandhagen. Merab's my number 9 spot. If he pops, if I find out that he took some type of PEDs or whatever, then he just will fall out of my top 15, because that's his only claim to fame is cardio, literally. So then if that's why, because he took PEDs, that's why he can push this pace, then he's out of my top 15. But for right now, Merab's number 9. Number 8, though, last of this tier, my beautiful, humble, amazing, my King Poetan. It makes me happy, man. It makes me smile. What? Chill. All right. For real though. Alex Pereira is my number 8 spot. I have Alex on my number 8 spot because it's Alex Pereira. He comes in the UFC. I can name his whole career right now. Beat Andreas Michailidis. comes in the UFC as a pure kickboxer. One MMA fight prior to joining the UFC, or one MMA fight prior to 2020s, into the 2020s, comes into the UFC, gets grapple fucked, comes back, switch knee. Bruno Silva fight. Obliterates Bruno Silva. 30-26. Sean Strickland knocks him out. Look at Alex Pereira's resume in the 4 years that he's been a part of the company. Sean Strickland, former champ. Israel Adesanya, one of the greatest ever. My bad. Jan Blachowicz, former champ, great fighter. Yuri Prochazka, former champ, great fighter. Only has lost to Alex Pereira. Jamal Hill, former champ. Yuri Prochazka again. Khalil Roundtree, who's on a fucking tear right now. And then he argued, in my opinion, he beat Magomed Ankalaev. He went to a very close decision with Magomed Ankalaev, and he's getting his rematch back. He has 2 losses in the UFC. He's beaten everybody. He's beaten everybody outside of Ankalaev. 2-division champ. He's beaten however many champs I just listed. Dominant fighter. He's one of the hardest punchers we've ever seen in the sport. He's iconic. It's Alex Pereira. If he gets his title back against Magomed Ankalaev and then he beats or they let him go up to heavyweight, win or lose, Alex Pereira is top 10 UFC fighter of all time. I don't have anything. I would never argue with you about this. He's top 10. He's top 10. I would never argue with you about this. He's got as many title defenses as Merab while not being on steroids. Moving on, though. To the number 7 spot, I got the Eagle. Habib, not Khabib. It's Habib Nurmagomedov. I don't have Habib in my top 5. Obviously, for reasons. The reasons being, he fought a lot. He was dominant. I know my criteria is dominant and quality of wins and how you stack up to your level of competition. Blah blah blah. Habib has never fought someone that was a grappler. He never fought anybody that could test his grappling. He fought all stylistic, just fucking. He fought Edson Barbosa, Michael Johnson to get the title. Not like to get the title. I don't even have to finish my sentence. You know who he beat to get the title. I don't even have to finish it. He beats Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor coming out of fucking 2 years late, a 2-year layoff, not focused Conor McGregor. Beats Dustin Poirier, beats Justin Gaethje. I don't know, man. I don't think beating Ali Aquinta is for the championship is moving. Is top 5 needle mover for me. I know he's undefeated. He's never lost. He never fucking drew blood. Whatever. His career was too short for me to put him any higher. Plus he was on roids, so But yeah, man, number 7 is a good spot for Habib. He has 3 title defenses. All 3 title defenses coming against pure strikers who can't do anything else but strike. I don't know, man. I don't want to argue with Dagestani fans because I have another fighter much higher. So I don't want to argue about it. Habib is number 7. Moving on to number 6, though. I drew a blank. Daniel Cormier, my number 6 spot. Double champ Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier gets disrespected a lot in the community lately. I see people putting Daniel Cormier at like number 11, 12, 13. I don't think that's right. Daniel Cormier was dominant, absolutely dominant. Some wins, Gustafsson, he beat fucking Stipe Miocic, who's my number 14. He beat Stipe. He's beating the Gustafssons, the Rumble Johnsons, the Anderson Silvas. Daniel Cormier was a dominant fighter. The only fighters he's ever lost to was John Jones one time, and he lost to Stipe twice. double champ, defended both belts, active fighter. Let's go to Daniel Cormier's. Before I even look, I know Daniel Cormier beat. I'm trying to think about it in order. Dan Henderson. Let me just look. I know it's Dan Henderson and all that, blah, 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 blah. Frank Mir, Dan Henderson, John Jones, Rumble Johnson, Gustafson, Anderson Silva, Rumble again, John Jones, Volkan Ozdemir, Stipe, Derek Lewis, Stipe. 2-division champ, man. Defended the belts multiple times. Dominant as hell. He's beaten the top of his divisions. He's also beaten some of the greatest ever. And he's also gone toe-to-toe with who would be the greatest ever if it wasn't for his, activities. So Daniel Cormier is at my number 6 spot. In my number 4 spot, I have none other than Islam Makhachev. Or in my number 5 spot, I have Islam Makhachev. I know this is crazy because of who I'm going to put next. But Islam Makhachev is in my number 5 spot. For these reasons, circumstances really do matter. I can't just look at your resume as knowing that I watched every single one of your fights. I know every single build up aspect to your fights. This shit matters to me. So Islam beat Dan Hooker on short notice. Hold on just a second. I'm back. Whoa, I'm back. Listen, Islam Makhachev, great fighter. I can't take away from the fact that he beat Charles Oliveira. I would put him in my number 5 spot because I thought he lost to Volkanovski. I don't rate his victory against Volkanovski the second time at all against a 10-day notice, fat, out of surgery Volkanovski. I can't do it. I do not count that as a win. Call me a Volk fan all you want. Call me a casual. I cannot count that as a victory. I can't. I can't do it. Then he goes and beats Dustin Poirier, a shell of himself, Dustin Poirier. That doesn't move me. That's a name. That's a great name. And again, I don't want to try to take away from Islam. He's the number 5 greatest fighter ever. But him beating old man Dustin Poirier, or not old man, washed up Dustin Poirier with no hips and dragging it out to the 5th round while getting pieced up, and it's just, it's a bad look. It's a bad look. Him fighting Renato Moicano, the number 10 ranked fighter in his division, on a day's notice, it won't go unnoticed. Now, if he beats JDM, Islam's moving to 2 or 3. But I can't get away from the circumstances of Islam Makhachev, and it's not his fault that this happens, but that is his career, and I have to judge it that way. The circumstances of his wins, I believe he should have 2 losses on his resume and not 1. He's beaten all-time greats when you look at it, at his resume, but I have him at my number 5 spot because I don't think he beat the guy that I'm putting the next spot. And man, when I look at it, he's not even when I look at it. He's beaten a bunch of former featherweights and he's beaten a bunch of short notice opponents. That's Islam Makhachev's resume. Featherweights and short notice opponents. Moving on though, because I know I'm gonna get hate for that. I know I'm gonna get called a bitch and all type of shit for that. Moving on though, the number 4 spot, Alexander Volkanovski. The number 4 greatest fighter of all time. Where do I start with Volkanovski? Alexander Volkanovski is my number 4 greatest fighter of all time. Why? Isn't it obvious? Shouldn't we just move on to number 3? Oh, okay. My bad. He's got great names on his resume. We can start off resumes. Jose Aldo, Max Holloway 3 times. He's beaten fucking Korean Zombie. He's beaten Brian Ortega. He's beaten Diego Lopez. I believe he beat Islam Makhachev. It's just, when you look at Volkanovski, he spent years on years on years on top, just dominant, not just beating guys. And I know he went to a lot of decisions, but he beats fighters dominantly. Damn, I'm in trouble. Damn, I'm in trouble. She's upstairs right now, and I'm in trouble. But Volkanovski beating fighters dominantly. Let's look at Alexander Volkanovski. Chad Mendes, Jose Aldo, Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, Korean Zombie, Max Holloway, beat Islam, beat Yair, loses to Islam, loses to Ilya, Diego Lopez. Alexander Volkanovski spent years undefeated at featherweight, just cleaning out the top of the division, and that's what matters to me. He cleaned out the top of his division, the number 1, 2, 3, 4 ranked fighters. He's beaten Max Holloway 3 times. Max Holloway, like I showed, a top 15 fighter of all time, in most people's opinions, not just mine. I think the third Max Holloway fight is the greatest title performance in the history of the game. Moving up and fighting Islam for the belt at lightweight and beating him, giving Islam his hardest fight to date outside of the one that he lost via KO, is just so impressive. And then to come back even after coming back after fighting one of the greatest fighters ever in Ilia Topuria, and then to come back and beat a game, young, hungry Diego Lopez to get your belt back. Volkanovski's number 3, man. Or number 4. Number 3, BJ Penn. Number 3, John Jones. The only reason I have John Jones here is because the only reason I don't have John Jones at number 1 is because he's a Roy cheat. Otherwise, I can't take away, obviously, because he's a Roy cheat. But John Jones has the greatest resume in the history of fighting, or the history of MMA. I don't even have to go through who he's beaten. The only reason he's here is because he is a Roy cheat. Otherwise, he would be number 1. 15 title fights, I believe it is. 15 title fights, 15 title wins. Beaten DC, Stipe, Sorogan, Gustafsson twice. Well, Gustafsson 1 time. Then he beat those middleweights and Lyoto Machida and Rampage Jackson and Shogun. It's John Jones, bro. We don't have to harp on John Jones. Again, he would be the greatest of all time, but he's a Roy cheat, so you can't be a cheater, especially using performance-enhancing drugs, and be the greatest of all time in any sport, period. Moving on, though, to my number 2 spot, we got Georges St. Pierre. George Rush. I got George at my number 2 spot because it's George, bro. George, the fights that he's lost, he's redeemed. He was on top of his division. He beat everyone in his division. Everyone. There was no one for him to fight. He moved up. He's a 2-division champ, but I don't count him beating Michael Bisping. I think the way he got the middleweight belt was very weak. But I don't know, man. It's George St. Pierre. I don't want to keep harping on George St. Pierre. He would be number 3 if it wasn't for John Jones. And, remain undefeated not undefeated, but remained at the top of welterweight for years and years. Had this aura of invincibility around him. He went to all decisions basically in his career, but dominate. I don't want to keep harping on George St. Pierre because I want to move to number 1. In my number 1 spot, I got Dominick Cruz. Dominick Cruz, nah, I'm just kidding. Number 1, I got Israel Adesanya. Izzy has never lost a round before. Okay. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. I have Demetrius Johnson at my number one spot. He's the greatest of all time to me because his level of dominance was like we've never seen before from a clean fighter. 11 title defenses in a row, unheard of. He's beaten everyone in his division. Say what you want about flyweight, they had some killers. You got Kyoto Horiguchi, and he beat Henry Cejudo. Ray Borg was at the top of his division at that time. John Dodson is the hardest hitting flyweight ever outside of Davis and Figueiredo. John Moraga, or whatever the fuck his name is. But I think that's what his name is. John Moraga. He's beaten all types of styles, wrestlers, combat sambo, strike boxers. He's beaten everybody. Man at the top of his division, most consecutive title defenses. Went in at flyweight, was undefeated in the UFC. Circumstance is a big thing to me. He did not lose to Henry Cejudo on his way out. And then he goes over to one. Yeah, I know this is a UFC list, but he goes over to one, and he loses his first fight to Adriano, but then he gets it back in one of the greatest, redemption comeback fights, and then he beats Adriano again. I'm not talking about that. Demetrius Johnson is the greatest all time. 11 title defenses, beat everyone at the top of his division, cleared out his division. Very, very underappreciated. Say what you want about, I don't know who you could put over him, honestly. I really don't. So yeah, that's my list, man. Thank y'all for spending y'all time with me. I appreciate the views that I got. I think I got 112 views on my last video. I really do appreciate y'all. Let me know what y'all want. If you got this far, let me know what y'all want in the future. I got a MMA news episode 2 coming this Thursday night, Friday morning. So yeah, man, y'all have a great night, and I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video. Demetrius Johnson, let's go. Goodbye.